Hello everybody and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today as I try to show off the best of modern retro gaming. Today we're coming to you with Coromon, a fun monster training game that is coming up soon, and this is the demo which is currently available on Steam. Go check it out. In the last episode we were able to pick up a couple new Coromon, Armado and the Beazle. Both this is our group now unless we find a perfect. As far as I understand, I can still catch a perfect. We are doing insane difficulty, which does limit us to certain things such as a typical Nuzlocke playthrough of other similar monster training games. So these guys, we need to level up. That is the issue. That is why we are back here in Hayfield and not on Donor Island. So we're going to try to level these guys up best we can in Woodlow Forest and see, hopefully it won't take too long. And again, we always have that possibility of finding a perfect, which would be amazing if we do, because I would really like to see one. I have yet to see a perfect in this game, and this does not bode well. At level 9 against a 5 and a 6 will get a lot of experience, but I don't think it's going to be very, it's not taking a lot of damage, but I don't think it's going to be able to output as much damage. You need at least 4 levels to get a good fight against the two. You need, so a good 4 levels. See, I was able to take out one Silk Quill pretty easily, but this other one's beating me down pretty good. So to be able to fight 2 like this is going to make it a lot harder. Awaken some of his potential, great. Armado has always been my defense guy. I've always added his HP and then put up the special defense. Which leads me to an interesting question. How do you, when you have those abilities, what do you use them on mostly? Do you have a tank that you have, Armado, or some other, you always have, you always use like the Silk Quill. I always make him upgrade his speed and his attack. Is there a Coromon that when you've played through it, you have constantly updated his potential in the same way? That would be interesting. I would like to know how you guys update, or not update, gotta switch him out. Increase your potential with your Coromon. Hopefully we can get back out of the grass. I'm gonna be a little difficult there. Do not like, well, Buzzlet's all right. He's pretty cool. But he does have a nasty little side effect here where I can become shocked if I touch him. Yeah, he has a static body, which means I now have the shock effect, which has a chance to stun me when I go to attack. So there's a possibility that when I go to attack with the Beazle, I will not be able to when I have shock, which is unfortunate. That's definitely, you do not want to have a situation in which you cannot attack anyway. So yeah, see, he's shocked and couldn't move. Now the Swarmy shouldn't put up too much of a battle here, but still, I really don't like to get that unanswered hit on you. I mean, if you hit and hit, you could go down and be all right, but if you have a lot of those unanswered hits, really can put a hamper on being able to do a lot with your character or your Coromon. We're gonna run back really quick and heal already, unfortunately. It's gonna be a little bit of a slower episode because we are going to be just grinding a little bit to level these guys up. And I think I've said it in the past, but in other videos, but I want to just kind of, I reiterate, I guess, I don't like to cut out a lot in my videos. Now, sometimes if I'm fighting a boss several times and I'm losing, maybe we'll cut out a couple of the battles. But other than that, it is I like to show everything. Because I feel a game, I'm here to show this game off and show how this game plays. I love it, every bit of it so far. The demo at least has been amazing. And if I cut a bunch out, cut a bunch of grinding out, or cut a bunch of whatever out, then it's going to be harder for you guys when you play it to realize the time and length that it took to put in the game. And I think that's only fair from my point of view to show an accurate representation of the time that I put in the game to play it. And I think there's also games do have downtime. There is a little bit of, it's not all excitement, and that downtime hopefully helps build for the really exciting times. So hopefully with a little bit of these downtimes, you'll see that, well, I hope that you enjoy the game regardless. But the downtimes, they're part of the game, and you're coming on this adventure with me fully. And I think that the downtime helps accentuate the uptime. You can't always have highs in a game, and I like to represent the game fairly. That is my opinion. I know that I may suffer, the channel may suffer because of that opinion, or maybe you guys won't like it because of that. And that is something that I am willing. You know what? I think they've changed the sprite of the Armado. He looks a little bit different than I remember him. A little tangent there, but this is the way that I do my videos. And I hope that you guys enjoy it regardless. And that's why I'm here. I'm hoping that you guys enjoy the videos that I do. I'm always open to constructive criticism, or a comment on how well I'm doing. Constructive. I want there's no reason to be mean or nasty or anything like that to me. But if you think that hey, Beezel works better this way, or I always use this effect and it really helps me out. I don't use a lot of the abilities. I use the attacks only, and maybe I'm missing out. And if you found a good attack combo or utility attack combo, and I would love to hear it, to be honest with you. That kind of stuff is stuff that I would like to know. And if you think that maybe my commentary is, I'm going to give you free reign, as long as there's two caveats. You must be nice, and you must be constructive. You suck is not constructive. That's just not a constructive comment. Now, if you are not as good, because I think you need to talk less, because that's fine, or whatever. And that gets into a lot of things. I've been making YouTube videos for quite a while, and this is actually a second channel that I've had. I don't know, for lack of a better word, messed up the first channel, and so I thought I would come back with another channel and have a more focused content. My previous channel was all over the place. I have a very eclectic collection of games. I like just about every type of game. Horror being probably the one exception. Like a JRPG, is low on the list, but I have been able to find few that I like. So I'm not going to be putting that completely out, but definitely horror is one that, no, I just don't like. But other than that, I like RPGs, action RPGs, turn-based RPGs. I like simulator games. I like action games. I like new games. I like old games. I like new games that look like old games. I mean, platformers, Metroidvanias. I mean, just about anything that you can think of that is a genre I enjoy. And in my last channel, I was just in one of the advice that I've always gotten through the years that I've done YouTube is play what you want. Play whatever you want, you know, people will come and like you and the world will be merry. No. I'll say with the caveat that if it all depends on the point of your channel. If you just want to have a channel to have fun and screw around and play whatever you want and, you know, just to be silly about, that's fine. Do what you want. But if you want a channel, and I think there's too much hate towards people that start off a channel that wants this, but if you want a channel that you want to grow, that afar off, not the only vision that you have for the channel, but something that you want for the channel, you want it to grow and you want to be able to make money off of it. I think that's a very respectable thing. Now, that can't be your only reason. I don't think that will be able to carry you through the dry period of the channel, but yeah, I think you have to look at your channel differently. You have to look at your channel differently depending on what you want out of your channel. And I've always would love to, you know, I do it for fun and the love of the game, but I've always liked to have the channel grow and to be able to make money from it. But you know, that play what you want didn't help me. I'm not saying it's not going to help anybody, but that advice did not help me. And my channel was all over the place, and it suffered for that. To be quite honest, I would play, you know, Mario for a little bit and get a bunch of Mario followers, and then I would play, you know, a truck simulator game and I would get a bunch of truck simulator people, but the Mario people wouldn't come to see the truck simulator stuff. They just wouldn't. It doesn't make sense that they would. I'd have a lot of subscribers and then I'd lose a lot of subscribers because, you know, now I'm doing this other thing or jumped, and maybe I didn't handle it well. But whatever the thing, it didn't work out, and I think that channel suffered because something with the way I was doing it, or maybe it was me, I couldn't make a play what you want channel work. Now I see a lot of people, I watch and keep track of a lot of YouTubers, maybe not the top ones, but some that I admire, people that have got, you know, helped me get into and have the desire to have a channel. And I watch them, and I noticed that some, you know, have a theme, and they say like, oh, you know, I am a variety channel. But if you really look at their games, it's like platformers and horror. Maybe something else was thrown in there every once in a while, but usually, even though they say they're a variety, now this is not again across the board, but I have noticed that in a good bit of people that say they're a variety streamer do have a smaller typical game that they play. I know, you know, people that like say they're indie streamers and they play indie games, and you know, you look at their you know, the indie is a huge category with a lot of difference in it, and you look at it and you see, well, there is, within that indie, they usually do platformers, or they usually do survival games, or something. There's usually a main focus. They may do a lot of others, but there's still usually a main focus. So when I came to make the new channel, I was like, what's my focus? I'm gonna have to do a focus because the whatever didn't work. And this is the focus that I chose because I particularly love this aspect of modern retro gaming. I grew up, my first gaming system was Atari 2600 that came out in 1977, and I loved it. I've been a gamer playing on console and PC probably since early childhood. And where was I going? I had a thought there. It just went out the door. So I have a lot of nostalgia for retro gaming. But I also, in a way, have a lot of hate for retro gaming. I try not to let my nostalgia overcome the bad aspects. And there were a lot of bad aspects of retro gaming. A lot of that, I will admit, was a lack of knowledge of the development. Through the 70s and 80s, you're one decade into developing, and the concept of video games is like a brand new, across the board, new concept. People didn't know what a good game was. They didn't know how to make, and there was exceptions. Again, I'm not making blanket comments here, but there was notable exceptions, but there was definitely very hardware limitations. There were there were knowledge limitations on how to develop. So that was the case, and a lot of that effect. There was hardware limitations based on size, which I think affected a lot of games. Colors, that sort of stuff. The NES, although the NES was an 8-bit system, it was never ever able to produce 8 bits of color. It was limited very much on, I think it could actually produce an equivalent to 8 bits of color, but so it can make 256 colors. The thing was, it could not show 256 colors. So out of the 256 colors, you were able to pick out 5 that you could have on the screen. Now, it may not be exactly the right numbers, but on the screen at a certain time, you could only have so many. You could only have so many sprites and so many squares. And if you look at old NES games and you see a line that suddenly disappears from the game, from the action, you shoot Mario and Mega Man are 2 games that I'm very familiar with. That does happen. If you're on Mega Man and you're shooting your blaster, and you notice the bottom half of your blaster goes away after a bit, as it flies across the screen. Well, that was because the limitation. You could only put so many pixels on a certain line, and then if you were over that, something had to go. So a lot of those limitations, I think, affected the quality of the game. There are definitely outstanding games besides this. With the technology that they had, and to be able to come and see what they came out with, is mind-boggling that they were able to do this. But I think, if I look back and say, with today's technology, if you're going to make Zelda 1, you can make it so much better. You really could. And a little bit, maybe just from a graphics standpoint, making it a little bit more 3D or something like that. You can still have a 2D top-down gameplay and have everything the same. You know, one of the nice things for Zelda, Legend of Zelda, the first one, it was limited to an XY. You could go left to right or up and down. That's what you were limited to. You couldn't go diagonally across the squares, and I think that is another one of the limitations of the NES or whatever it was, programming or space on the disc, whatever it was, the limitation. That was a limitation at that time, and I think that suffered, that hurt the gameplay. And if you know you made it now, well, that limitation's not there. The only problem with doing retro gaming is very expensive. Not only the games themselves, but you have to have hardware, you know, specialty hardware to be able to run the NES or the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis on, you know, you have to have that special hardware. Or even if you do the Switch now, any console, you need special hardware. But it's even more so, I think, in the older ones, because the Switch has an HDMI output. I can practically put that in the, you know, my graphics card, you know, or you know, whatever. You will still need a capture card, but you know, an HDMI makes it easy. From the Switch, if you're using the old, you know, I think that the NES 240, it was the 240, it wasn't a P, I don't think. Yeah, it wasn't progressive. 240i, I think, is what the NES was, or maybe even 120i. And to be able to accurately produce that image, not only capture such a low wild waffle, that's a different color. Potent, man, I need a perfect. I can't catch potents. I need a perfect, man. So to be able to capture that and to produce it into a video that's playable at like 720, I'm getting a little low. Yeah, I'm gonna switch out. To be able to put it out into a 720p or a 1080p, something that's you know, a standard now, it takes money. You need your capture card. You probably, you know, to be able to effectively, you need to upscale, or, you know, there's a lot of other stuff you need. And then you have to buy the NS, buy the old games, which are expensive. Yeah, we're just gonna go straight attack for him. He's a potent guy. His attacks do really good. Armado grew to level 12. We're almost there. So, you know, I had a Nintendo. I was able to get a few other things, but I knew that it was expensive. And I tried retro for a little while, but it ended up that it was just going to be, you know, well, I kind of switched over a bunch of things, and there's other things that was, but when I was, there was a lot of reasons why I, you know, stopped doing the old channel. But when I was looking to create a new one and to look at a more focused channel, if I was going to do only retro, I'd have to put a lot of money down. It's just something I wasn't willing to do, so I went and ended up doing, you know, modern retro, which is, you know, kind of the best of both worlds. You've got these great retro-like games that, you know, you are interesting, are fun. There's a little bit of nostalgia to them, but they're new. They're something different. It's not playing, you know, and I've played Mario before. I've played regular Mario, you know, Super Mario 1, 2, and 3 on the NES. I don't know how many times. You know, so to come in and play a game that, you know, is a platformer that, you know, may be inspired by Super Mario Brothers, but is not, is interesting because it's a new game now. That's again one of the really bad things, I think, because the disc limitation in the early consoles, you know, NES, Super NES, Sega, Genesis, there's a lot. I'm not going to go through all the list. Because the space limitation that was there, you couldn't have a game that had a lot of replayability. And then now I'm into that replayability here in a way, because I'm playing these games that are very much like the old games, but it's a whole new game, and it's so much fun, and I just love doing it. And I'm so glad that I've chosen it, and I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying it as well. I'm gonna end the episode there. We did pretty good. Armando is up to a level 12. Everybody else is level 15. Maybe we'll start out the next episode. You know, we're gonna do couple more. And you know what? I decided no. We'll end it there, and maybe at the beginning of the next episode we'll try to level them up a little bit more. It's very, very important. One, to have all your Coromon roughly the same level. Two, you've got to, especially in Insane, take the time to level your Coromon up to an area in which you need to fight, and they need to be 15 to go through the Thunderous Cave. At least, in my opinion right now, because if one gets KO'd in either hard difficulty or insane difficulty, you lose it. It goes back to the wild. And in insane difficulty, I cannot catch anymore. Unless, as far as I know, unless it is perfect. Unless its potential is perfect, I can't catch it. So, I'm out. These are my 6. If I lose one, I'm down to 5. That's the way it is, and I have to live with that. So we're taking that extra time to grind a little bit so that we can get up. Grinding is one thing that has really turned me off for JRPGs. And again, I have come across a few RPGs, JRPG style, retro, you know, modern retro style games that very little to no grinding, and it is so wonderful, so wonderful. So that's the episode for today. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of history about the channel and myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.